The second one, I think, that really motivated and, kind of cemented my decision was that Yoda has a famous phrase, right? Yoda from Star Wars says, there is no try, right? It's either do or do not. And when I took the step and said, okay, hey, you know what? I'm going to figure out and learn how to sell on Amazon. I took try out of my vocabulary. I looked at the landscape. I saw begin to interact with other sellers who were doing it. And I saw like, hey, you know what? They're just like people like me. There are people of average intelligence. And if they can sell $500,000 a year, I can do it too. So I'm not going to go into this thinking, hey, I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to, figure something else out. I went in and said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be scrappy and I'm going to learn and I'm going to put the hours in, the time to do whatever I got to do to make this work, right? So it's kind of like burn the ship mentality where, you land and you're like, okay, I'm going to conquer this world. I'm not going to go back, get in that ship and go back. And I'm so committed to this. I'm burning my ships. And I think people, when they do decide, and everyone comes to that decision probably at different times, that's kind of the mentality you're going to have, right? It's like, look, I'm going to do this or I'm going to die. And usually when you commit to something like that, the universe then kind of gets out of the way and you're able to take action, you're able to do it. But that mentality, I think, is so important that you cannot have regret, right? And what you're leaving. And you have to, be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to learn this thing and I'm going to make it work.
And I would just say on that, if you haven't yet, sign up to be an insider at amazingfreedom.com. And we're putting out this monthly magazine. And if you've been reading that, you'll, I think, agree with what Andy's saying there. All these successful interviews and stories of Amazon sellers, I feel like have this common theme of they just took action. They basically burned the ship in some way. Or you don't hear as many stories of the person who said, hey, I just sat on the sideline for years and years and years and years and years. And then finally it just all worked out. Typically it's people who are, like you, Andy, you read the book and a week later you're taking action on it. So go sign up to be an insider, read that magazine. I think one way to help you get that mentality is to see the proof of concept, see other people doing it. And then you get encouraged and you recognize that, hey, I just have to go for this.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. So self-education, I'm going to do it. I'm going to die. And then I think the third one, and this is one that I think you and I have implemented over and over again in our business, and that's that action always wins. And so there are times where we have come to decision time and we had as much information as we could, right? But if we continue to remain ambivalent and not make a decision, there was no way that we're going to win. And I'm thinking specifically about different products. So when we bring new products to Amazon, there's always a question like, hey, there's going to be a lot of time, a lot of capital, a lot of resources put into this, right? And then, as we look at the market, we analyze all the data, there comes a time where we have to make a decision and say, okay, we're going to take action and move forward with this. But if we continue to wallow in that inaction phase, then we do not win. And I think, thinking about our business, Nate, there have been a number of products where 2 or 3 years ago, we looked at them and we probably stayed in that inaction phase when really we should have said, hey, let's push forward. This may not be the best iteration of this product, but we really believe in this niche. We believe that it's, $1 million potential. So let's just get going what we have going. And then every shipment will get better iterations in. But instead, for whatever reason, we kind of put it on the back burner. And I think even some of those products we're coming back to now because we do have a better knowledge base. And we're saying, okay, hey, look, let's take action on this. And so, the famous phrase, right, is fail forward. And I think that's what we've been able to do on a number of things when it comes to our business.
And I don't want to speak to everybody, but in my own experience, I think one of the challenges there is you get so busy that it's easy to not take action because you're just kind of looking at too many things. And so I would encourage, if somebody's looking at selling on Amazon and selling, what's one of those like MLM, complete like Amway, or, I don't even know if that's around anymore, in looking at crypto, day trading and all these things, like sometimes you don't take action because you're just like always looking for that get, rich quick scheme that's out there. And you're just going to keep researching a bunch of other things. Like just pick one, We talk about on the show every week that, compared to a McDonald's franchise or a Taco Bell or a Subway franchise, like just seeing what our Amazon Seller Tribe members do every year compared to picking another one, we feel like that's kind of a proven out business model that if you take action, seems to work out pretty well for the majority of people that really just commit to it. But whatever it is, I mean, don't just, your first point was self-educate. But a lot of people, also talk about that you can read all the books you want in the world, but if you don't actually take action on that book, it doesn't mean a thing. And so, Andy, you maybe had only read that one book in a matter of, I'm just speaking, for you. Maybe that was the only book you read that year. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But even if it was, perhaps you took 10 times the amount of action than someone else who read 50 books that year, but just was like, yeah, theoretically they knew all the answers, but never did anything. So I like that action mentality coupled with you have to have some type of knowledge and education with it as well.
Yeah. And I think, if you look back like at the last 9 years, that we put in, I think every year, every 6 months, we continue to get better. But it's only because we've put in now how many, 15,000 hours, right, into studying the Amazon ecosystem. And too many people, they work at it for a year, they work at it for 2 years. If you and I would have quit at year 2, we probably were not that successful, right? We made some money, but we weren't like super successful. And so that's the whole idea is you have to keep action, you stay with it. And then as those hours and expertise build up, then that's when I think you really begin to hit those numbers that matter.